Testing, testing. I'm unlisted at the moment, so we're testing. Welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll wait to see who joins us. I hope that everybody is doing well, and I hope that everybody is having an excellent New Year's. It is about an hour into the New Year's. It's 12:54 a.m. So if your New Year's Day is not going well at the moment, then, or if your New Year's is already off to a rough start, then I'm sorry, but hopefully it's only been an hour. It's been an hour. Hopefully nothing, hopefully it's been a good New Year's in this first, I guess, 55 minutes. But welcome. Let's wait to see who joins. 1 a.m. stream. Let's chat about Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Let's give it a few minutes. Let's wait to see who joins. There's a lot of really exciting things in 2026 for Freemasonry specifically that I can't wait to be a part of. So yeah, let's give it a few moments. Let's see who joins. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and thank you all for being here. Like I said, by 2025, I hope that you guys, by the way, if you are partying, if you are celebrating New Year's, I hope that you guys are, doing so safely, as I discussed on today's, or I guess yesterday's live stream, making sure that you are being responsible, being safe, whether it comes to the consumption of alcohol, substances, not driving while intoxicated, all that good jazz. Just be careful, be safe, be smart. Check out my previous video. I left some tips. And I also hope that you guys are enjoying yourselves and are, as I said on my other stream, if you had a good 2025, I hope you have an even better 2026. If your 2025 was challenging, then I hope that you can leave those challenges in the past and that you're looking forward to what's going to be a really fun and amazing 2026 and a peaceful 2026. Gorilla Tag, I'm just going to call you Gorilla. Sup, thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I feel like I remember that name, so I think you're new to the stream. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Let me know how you're doing. Any thoughts on Freemasonry? I'd love to hear it. Positive, negative, or neutral. Also, let me know how your New Year's is going. Okay, well, welcome. Thank you for being back. I hope you're doing well. There we go. I do have two channels. This is the main channel, I guess is the way to put it. No, that is not true, Serene Soul. Freemasons have no particular New Year's traditions. Although I will say Robbie Burns famously is a Freemason and or was a Freemason and also a famous Scottish poet who actually wrote Auld Lang Syne. So if anybody is singing Auld Lang Syne at the moment, you are celebrating a poet. You're celebrating a Scottish poet. And you're celebrating a Scottish poet Freemason. Happy New Year's, Gorilla. Thank you for being here. A lot of people don't realize that Auld Lang Syne is actually Masonic in nature. It's actually often used as a Masonic parting song. So, well, welcome back, Elliot. I'm happy you always return. I hope that you'll hit the like and subscribe button on this account as well as on the Randall Ivory account. I'm always happy when people return. If you do have a New Year's resolution, let me know what it is. And if it's Masonic especially, let me know what it is. Maybe I can give you some advice on the best way that you can achieve your Masonic New Year's resolution. I'm curious to see what the stream is going to be like in terms of numbers of people. Obviously, I'm sure most people are celebrating. And because most people are celebrating, I'm wondering if maybe we're going to get a little bit lower views than normal, which is fine. I'm just happy for anybody to join me. Serene, there's a few different. I've not watched Stranger Things yet. There's a few different reasons, but primarily I think it's a codependent relationship, which means people are struggling in their own lives with emotional issues, psychological issues, addiction issues, other stresses, could be financial. And instead of dealing with those issues, because it's hard, they would rather invent a conspiracy theory or invent a boogeyman. It could be Freemasons, it could be Jewish people, it could be LGBT community, it could be about vaccines. It could be government, they invent some boogeyman and imagine it's involved in some massive conspiracy as a way to avoid dealing with their own problems. They kind of develop a codependent relationship with the conspiracy they've hatched, or with even Freemasonry in some sense, or at least their idea of Freemasonry. It's the same way what people used to do is if they had, let's say, an addiction problem, instead of trying to solve it, they would find themselves in a relationship with somebody who had even a greater addiction than they did. And that way they didn't need to worry about their own addiction. They could worry about other people's, their partner's problems. You should not do that, Philip. That's unhygienic. What you should do is hit the like and subscribe button. Hello, Hank. Yo, thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope that everybody watching this, please take a moment, if you're not done so already, to hit like and subscribe. Consider a 99-cent super chat. No, we do not, Serene. We do not do that. You've been spending way too much time listening to foolish conspiracy theories online. That's not what Freemasonry is about. In fact, Freemasonry, one of the rules of Freemasonry is we do not, we are supposed to be respectful of and follow the laws of the country in which we're located. And if we see anybody committing any criminal acts, we are to inform the police. Sacrificing people of any sort would be an illegal act. So it's not something that would be condoned within Freemasonry. If you have a New Year's resolution, please let me know what it is. Please, as always, hit that like button, subscribe button. Check out some of the things I've posted. I hope that you will, comment on it. The more comments, the more likes, the more shares, all of that stuff, it is incredibly important. Well, you definitely need to get better sources if you think we're sacrificing people. I hope that can be one of those sources. Like I said, what you can do is like, subscribe, and also turn on the notification bell. Because if you turn on the notification bell whenever I'm streaming or have a new episode released, you'll get a notification. I don't know if, well, doesn't have any feelings, but people on YouTube post content, and unfortunately, conspiratorial content tends to do better, not just on YouTube, but on social media sites in general. That is not true 4409. At least this Freemason starts New Year's by jumping on stream. However, as I mentioned before, when it comes to Freemasonry, if you've ever sung Auld Lang Syne, you're singing a Masonic poem. So just keep that in mind. Well, check out my channel where you'll get the right information. Faye, welcome. Please hit like and subscribe. I think you're new to the stream. I hope that you're doing well. And I hope that you're enjoying your New Year's. It is 1 a.m., no filter, and here I am. What song? My favorite song is Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. Sorry, what song? Auld Lang Syne, AULDLANG, and then Syne, SYNE. Oh, there's no rest for the wicked, no filter boss. I don't think I'm wicked, but maybe others would disagree with me. Well, because I'm dedicated. What can I say? What you should do is hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. To anybody watching this who's not liked and subscribed, I know you are no filter. Honestly, the best way to learn about Freemasonry, Serene, is to purchase this book. It's called Freemasonry for Dummies. The author is Chris Hodap. It's an excellent book, it's an excellent resource, and it gives you really great information about Freemasonry. Yeah, Old Lang Syne. Because there is no such thing. There is no none of that in Freemasonry. Please hit like and subscribe. You have been also following way too many conspiracy theories online. Yes, I got a big nose. Please hit like and subscribe. 0746. I've grown to accept that about myself. It is, Travis. It is an excellent book. When people ask me for general information about Freemasonry or where to start, that's almost always the book that I recommend. Freemasonry for Dummies by Chris Hoda. It also is a website which provides a lot of great information. Like they have daily Masonic email blasts, or not daily, but they send information and updates on Freemasonry. Happy New Year's, Brian. Thank you for being here. Um, well, I guess what I'd say is everybody has their own enlightenment that they take from Freemasonry. For me, the biggest enlightenment I took was the value of temperance, which is something I struggle with. I tend to get really excited when things are going well and really despondent when things are going badly. And Freemasonry reminds you to be temperate in both good and bad, positive and negative situations. So that's one of my main, I would say, most significant and most valuable lessons within Freemasonry. Well, the Stoic philosophy in Freemasonry borrowed a lot. The cardinal virtues, virtue, temperance, prudence, and justice, or fortitude, it's sometimes called. That was a big part of Masonic teaching. Stoic philosophy definitely made its way into Freemasonry without question. And I think Stoic philosophy has a great deal of value when it comes to not just Freemasonry, but life in general. I've actually had two interviews with a gentleman by the name of Stoic Dan, who is a Stoic philosopher. No, that is not true either, Serene. Watching way too many conspiracy theories. Check out Freemasonry for Dummies by Chris Hodap. I do as well. My favorite philosopher is probably Voltaire. I really like Enlightenment era philosophy. Although I will say the ancient philosophers, Aristotle, they had some great stuff too. A lot of people, I'm not trying to recruit anybody, but I do find a lot of people who enjoy Freemasonry also enjoy philosophy for whatever it's worth. So it may be worth looking into it. I got a big nose, Kirit 9119, but you should hit the like and subscribe button. Nietzsche was great. I mean, I think he got a lot of stuff incorrect, but he got a lot of stuff correct as well. Certainly, the end of his life was a very sad situation, a bit of a cautionary tale. Well, XSTR, I trust you around that like and subscribe button to hit like and subscribe. Help me get to 3,200 subscribers. I'm almost there. Um, so I'd appreciate the help if you can provide some assistance. And I hope everybody is having an excellent 2026. It's an hour in, at least Eastern time. So not enough time for anything to go too bad, at least I would hope. I'll go back to, what I've been saying this whole time. If your 2025 was good, I hope your 2025 is better. If your 2025 was a struggle, then I hope that your 2026, you can put those struggles behind you, and focus on a better, more enjoyable, more exciting future. Um, I know a lot of people did struggle in 2025. There was definitely a lot of very hard times. But at least for me, I can say I also had a lot of really good times. So we don't really learn specific philosophy. It's not as though, you're sat down and you're taught, okay, today we're going to learn Stoic philosophy in the way you would go to school. Rather, there are Masonic ceremonies and rituals, and they draw on different philosophical ideas. The two primary ones being Enlightenment era philosophy and Stoic philosophy. Hermeticism, somewhat, the idea of secret knowledge, but not as much as Again, I would say the primary is Enlightenment era philosophy and Stoic philosophy. But keep in mind, anything you do definitely has philosophical undertones to it. Like if you're a football player, you're learning certain philosophies through the act of playing football, right? You're learning the value of teamwork, the value of practice, the value of fair play, not cheating, the value of caring for yourself so you can therefore be of, better use to your team. Those are all philosophical ideas as much as practical ones. No, Serene. No, I kind of can't tell if you're trolling or not because you're asking a lot of foolish questions. Ishmael, Happy New Year's to you as well. Well, just because you see a YouTube video about it, there's a lot of foolish people on YouTube. Um, Creed, you should look up where the like and subscribe button is and hit it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I hope that you are doing well. Um, Is that a dude in a racing wheelchair? Because I used to do wheelchair track years and years ago, decades and decades ago. Well, I mean, directly nothing. Freemasonry is not about monetary gain. Anybody who tells you that to be a Freemason, you'll make money or get rich is at best mistaken, at worst lying to you. I do hope, though, to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession through this channel and online content. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, consider a super chat, just 99 cents helps out big time. Yes, panic, I got a mega mind. You should hit the like and subscribe button. 12-hour power nap, also hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. I am Google isn't God. I've been a traveling man for, well, both literally, I consider myself a professional traveler, and also metaphorically, I'm a Freemason. I've been a Freemason since 2007. This channel is meant to talk about Freemasonry and promote the ways it was and is relevant to the communities in which it is located. I do these streams Monday through Fridays at 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. And then on weekends, I have additional content. Um, Not even on the different degrees. I don't represent, so on this channel, I don't represent any Masonic lodges. I represent myself. Excuse me, I represent myself, my own opinions, and my own thoughts, my own ideas on Freemasonry. Um, I'm a member of 5 Masonic lodges. I'm currently the Worshipful Master of Border Cities Lodge number 554 in Windsor, Ontario. But all opinions are my own. Can anybody be a Freemason? You need to be, an adult, at least 18 years of age in the States, over 21 in Canada, mostly. You need to believe in a supreme being, and you need to go through the application process before you can potentially join. Let me get a reference. Freemasonry is, I can't give you a reference. If you were asking to join the lodge of which I'm a member, I could potentially sponsor you, but I would need to get to know you first. Yes, I got a big nose. Please hit like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Um, so 12-hour power nap, that's a great power nap. It doesn't overlap because it's about different areas, different goals. You know, Christianity is a religion, so it has religious goals, such as, or at least religious concerns around things like salvation, eternal life, kind of a moral kind of morality in a religious sense. So that's what Christianity concerns itself with. Freemasonry is a civic organization, so it concerns itself not in the afterlife, but in the civic community. But certainly within, Freemasonry, it did borrow some symbolism and some kind of philosophies from Christianity, as well as other religions, other philosophies, etc., etc. Um, Well, we don't drink blood and we don't participate in violence. So once again, you're being kind of foolish, Serene. But I mean, what I'd say is, what do I recommend? What I recommend is you do whatever kind of you feel like brings you comfort. So do some research on different groups. I mean, Freemasonry is one way to find brotherhood, but it's not the exclusive way. You can, I don't know, join Knights of Columbus, Oddfellows, Moose, Rotary. You can join a knitting club. You can try professional sports. It's about what speaks to you and what makes you. It's about what speaks to you, not about necessarily what I can recommend because I don't know you well enough. It's kind of asking me to recommend to you what your favorite song will be. I can tell you what my favorite song is, but you may hear it and have completely different taste. Well, I mean, if you want to join a church community, then join a church community. I don't really understand what you're asking. Is he a small dog with a blue collar? Hello, way too crazy. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I hope you're having a great New Year's Day. It's 1:14 in the morning here, so it's been 2026 for an hour and 14 minutes. If your 2026 is already off to a rough start, that's rough because it's an hour and 14 minutes in. So how bad could it possibly get? Don't answer that question. I know it can get pretty bad. Interesting. Any New Year's resolution, 65% said no, 35% said yes. If you did answer yes, let me know what your resolution is. It could be Masonic or otherwise. Sorry about the squeaking sound. I got to get this table fixed. Well, Serene, there is, I mean, first of all, Freemasonry is not going to give you influence or power or climbing ranks or any of that nonsense. If anybody tells you to join Freemasonry because, you will gain more power or influence or some type of special rank in society, they are either incorrect or lying to you. I don't know what you mean by the negative side of it. I mean, you have to be willing to sacrifice some of your time and effort to be a Freemason, I suppose, if you want to consider that negative. I mean, the negativity you're talking about doesn't exist. There are no illegal practices or sacrifices or any of that baloney. So it's just you got bad information and you seem to be convinced that you didn't. But your information is baloney. So you just kind of have to either accept that or don't and kind of stop talking around the nonsense. Um, that's not the first thing of it as all. Um, I'm talking about it right now. I've talked about Freemasonry almost every day this year, last year. Technically, I haven't talked about Freemasonry. I've also talked about Freemasonry every day this year because it's currently 2026. Well, maybe he was just very talented and moved up from manager to director because he was talented. Or maybe joining Freemasonry gave him a level of confidence because he works on things like public speaking and working in groups, and maybe he became the virtual master of his lodge. A correlation is not a causation. Um, Michael, please hit like and subscribe. Way too crazy. The world is not flat, the world is round. I think when you say it flat, you're saying the world is flat, because I think you said that before. It is not, it is a sphere. Um, I mean, when it comes to Freemasonry, I can say that I can go on my experiences with it, which is 20 years, just about, 19 years of Freemasonry, traveling around the world. I've been to the Philippines, Brazil, Chicago, Texas, California, Colombia, United Kingdom, Scotland, England. So I don't know what to tell you, but I have my experiences. I have my ability to reason and observe, and I have my Masonic memberships. And based on all of that, I can just tell you what I've experienced and been through. And I guess you make up your own decisions therein. But also read Freemasonry for Dummies. It's a great place to start. Um, I don't know about 20 years could be a rookie. Will, have you considered hitting the like and subscribe button? I'm 42 years old. I've been a Mason for 20 years, which is crazy to think it's been that long, or just about 20 years. Not a big fan, Google isn't God of Manly P. Hall. I'm not a big fan of the esoteric side of Freemasonry in general. I think even some Masons latch onto these crazy esoteric ideas and just run with them. Also, the thing to remember about Manly P. Hall is he wrote The Secret Teachings of Ages about 20 some years before he joined Freemasonry in California. So, this idea that he was writing as a Freemason just isn't the case. Um, no, it does not pay for a brother. I mean, honestly, Freemasonry has covered the medical expenses of brothers in the past if they were struggling or their families and could not cover the expenses on their own. But I don't need rhinoplasty because I'm very handsome. Hello, MNEMOC. MNOC. I can't pronounce your name. All those letters. Welcome. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, and let me know how you're doing. And I hope you're having a great New Year's. I will not because I don't do that. I'm actually very boring. I don't drink, I don't smoke. What I do is have way too much caffeine. I'll say that is one of my vices. And probably I also eat way too unhealthily, but that's a whole separate can of tuna for a separate day. What you should do, Fedor7, is hit the subscribe button and the like button. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. Everybody's mom and dad are related because it's their mom and dad, so they're related by marriage. Um, I do not want to commit any crimes. Freemasons should not want to commit crimes. That's not what Freemasonry is all about. In fact, ever since even the Regius poem, within Freemasonry has been the understanding that we do not only do we not commit crimes, but we don't condone crimes committed by our brothers, but turn them into the authorities lest our fraternity be brought into disrepute. I love tuna. I love fish. Fish is one of my favorite foods. Seafood in general is absolutely one of my favorite foods by a mile. So, by the way, I gotta give a huge shout out to the city of Windsor for hosting and Councillor Ronaldo Agostino for holding an excellent 2025 New Year's Eve celebration at City Hall Square with the ice rink. It was really awesome to see. It was awesome to see the ice rink so packed. It was awesome to see the downtown buzzing with these family events, free hot chocolate, free coffee. It was a blast. It was, I think it's just really incredible to see the city of Windsor doing so well, especially the downtown. And City Hall Square and the space for the public is a big part of that. So nothing but respect for all of their hard work and dedication and efforts. I would not, Will. Would you consider hitting the like and subscribe button? That's the better question. I don't hate the Knights of Columbus. I love the Knights of Columbus. Some of my friends are Knights of Columbus. We don't hate anybody. Freemasons are metaphorical vegetarians in that we don't want no beef with nobody. Um, so anybody who thinks that's what we're all about is incorrect. I think that the most important thing, the thing we need the most in society, is to see a regrowth in civic institutions, and that would help both Freemasonry and our communities. So whether that's a regrowth via Knights of Columbus, Freemasonry, Rotary, Moose, Elks, it all matters. It's all important. Um, well, Michael, I would say it's more a sign of weakness to be on somebody's stream you don't like at 1:23 in the morning talking smack. My suspicion is you don't have much of a life outside of trolling on YouTube, um, as opposed to trying to improve one's self or improve yourself. Well, if I'm making that guess, then what I would say is you can absolutely, make different choices and better choices and not be on streams um, trolling. I mean, honestly, don't even be on streams at all. Not that I don't love the audience member, but I'd rather have you do things you enjoy that don't involve randomly insulting people on YouTube. Luckily, because I'm so handsome and awesome, it doesn't bother me, but it might botherize other people. It might bother other people, especially people who are struggling and coming on stream to try to talk about their struggles. So keep that in mind. It's 2 in the afternoon. It's so you are the other side of the world for me. You must be in Australia because it's 1:24 Eastern Standard Time. So you've had 2026 for about 14 hours. How's it going for you? Well, what I notice is you may enjoy being on stream, but I would say you have a tendency to try to troll, which I don't think is healthy. 824 here. I don't know. There's 850,000 Freemasons in the United States. So you would have to ask all 850,000 of them whether they do or don't. Um, I don't know. If you do, then you'll do a 99-cent super chat. I do not use Rogan. Rogan is for your hair, right? My hair is pretty good. What are you talking about? I'm lucky. I was terrified because my dad went bald, and so I was terrified I would go bald. But so far, I'm keeping all my hair. I heard it comes from your maternal grandfather, who himself was a Freemason, in fairness. So, maybe I guess I got his hair genes, which makes me quite happy because I would not want to go bald. Actually, I have to get my hair cut though. It's way too long. Um, I'd rather have no trolls. I mean, my view on it is always if you're trolling, I'm not going to automatically ban you. I try not to. What I do try and do is, put people in timeout because if people are trolling, there's one or two reasons. Either they just genuinely want to get a rise out of somebody and think it's amusing and funny, which is does annoy me, or they're not actually trolling, they just have incorrect information about Freemasonry and are expressing, those incorrect views because they're legitimately concerned or think it's a cult or whatever it is. For those people where I think it's legitimate beliefs, what I do try and do in those cases is give them the benefit of the doubt and try to explain to them why they're wrong. However, if I end up having to just repeat myself several times. At a certain point, I will ban, or not ban them, but I will put them in timeout because it's not any fun to have to repeat myself multiple times or answer the same question from the same person. I like Knights of Columbus. They're great. Like I said, I've got some good Knights of Columbus friends. I think they're awesome. And again, I think communities will always benefit from Communities will always benefit from um, civic engagement, whether it be Knights of Columbus, Freemasonry, or both. That would be a personal decision between the individual and the Mason. Will, that strikes me as a troll. Freemasonry does not tell people how to live their life in that way or set those type of rules. So every Mason can decide for himself. Um, right, but that's it. That's an example of question. I will give somebody the benefit of the doubt, although I would say you're getting close to striking me as somebody who's asking silly questions just for fun. Um, we're gonna give it a bit more time. I'm gonna wait to see who else joins. Jump in that chat, say hello. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, consider doing a super chat. All that good jazz. And I hope, like I said, that everybody's having a great 2026. It's crazy to think it's 2026. Um, I remember, I'm 42 years old, so born 83, and it just strikes me as crazy to think that, like, if you had told me when I was a kid I would live to see 2026, I mean, I would have intellectually believed you because I could do the math and figure out I would be 42, which is young. So intellectually, I would have agreed with you, but emotionally, 2026 would have seemed like, an eternity away. And the days go slow, but the years go quickly. I kind of feel like I just close my eyes and open them, and it's 2026. It's nuts. Certainly, I think a lot of the reason for the time going so quickly is because of how busy I've been with, for example, Freemasonry. Um, I think for a lot of people, it probably feels that way. And welcome to everybody who's watching. We got 8 people watching right now. Streams, these numbers have gone up, have gone down, but I've said this before. My 2025 was excellent in terms of channel growth, helping turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. Thank you to everybody who helped make this possible. I'm truly grateful and truly appreciative. I made it to 4,000 watch hours in the last 12 months, which means, I am fully monetized, both in terms of super chats, memberships, and live streams, as well as ad revenue. That's not how it works. I don't believe you, Nigerian Nightmare, but it's still great to have you join. And interesting enough, 31 votes, any New Year's resolutions. Most are saying no. Actually, 55% no, 45% yes. So the people are saying yes. I'd love to hear what your resolutions are. Certainly, if they are um, Masonic in nature and how you plan to achieve them. Yeah, Freemason does not discriminate. I've known several gay Freemasons, probably 4 or 5. Freemason does not discriminate based on sexual orientation. You can be gay, you can be straight, and you can be a Freemason. Freemason judges the man, not, if he's gay or straight. I want to say judge, I don't mean judge per se. I mean, Freemasonry is about brotherhood, and brotherhood shouldn't matter on, again, whether the brother next to you is gay or straight. That's not what brotherhood should be about. And that's not what Freemasonry is about. So, yes, you can be gay and be a Freemason. It shouldn't be an issue one way or the other. It shouldn't even come up in the process of looking to join the lodge, except insofar as let's say you are gay and you have a husband who is concerned about Freemasonry for whatever reason, certainly, the Masons can meet with him in the same way you meet with, an applicant's wife and just talk to him about what Freemasonry is. Because you want to make sure you have the family support. Anybody who joins Freemasonry and they don't have the support of their spouse, whether it be their wife or their husband, it's going to be more challenging. And it's probably better to not join until you get the support of your family. So that'd be my advice on that one for whatever it's worth. Smear the goat. You are one. You are a Freemason. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. I hope you're having an excellent 2026. I know it's early, but that doesn't mean we can't get off to a good start, get off on the right foot of 2026. We're going to start on a positive note and hope for the best. I remember, a few years ago in 2020 and 2021, everybody was saying like nobody celebrate New Year's just because the last couple of years have been so challenging and crummy. Everybody was like, let's everybody just relax and not hope for too much. Maybe we're getting to a point where we can be a little bit more positive and a little bit more hopeful about what we can expect in 2026. I do want to travel. That's one of my goals. So that's definitely a major goal that I have. I want to travel, especially to Japan. That's a major goal of mine. The problem is it's very expensive. Actually, it's not crazy. Come to look at it, relatively speaking. I'd also love to visit Hong Kong for the same reason. It's like one day though and 11 hours. Although the cheapest time to book is now, apparently. We're just going to give it a bit more time. We're going to see who else jumps in the chat to say hello. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. We get a few more minutes, see who joins. Obviously, I'm sure most people are out having fun, partying, enjoying their 2026, their New Year's Day. But maybe some people, we'll still give it a bit of time. We'll just see who else joins. There have been several American presidents who were Freemasons, starting with George Washington. It's been, and most recently, some argue Joe Biden, who was made a Mason, honorary Mason or Mason on site by Prince Hall, South Carolina. But the last kind of undisputed Freemason who was a president was Gerald Ford. So there's either been 14 or 15, or maybe 16, depending how you view it or what you would say. So, I mean, I personally, because I love Freemasonry, I'm always been of the opinion that that I think it would be better if, in my humble opinion, I personally think it would be better if you had a Freemason who was president, because I think Masonic ideals are actually very positive for society and for civic engagement. Honestly, though, I really think it's better in general if what you have is just presidents that are more, and prime ministers and city councilors and mayors that are just more civically engaged in general. Doesn't even have to be necessarily, um, Freemasonry. They could be Knights of Columbus. They could be a million Elks, Moose, Rotary. I think what matters more is that they are civically minded and civically engaged, which I think is a very important element to the whole thing. Because if you are civically engaged, you are more likely to recognize the value of a strong civic society. And if you're more likely to recognize that, you're able to recognize how a civil society can basically undergird and support civic engagement. Um, but in terms of your question, Will, the last undisputed United States president who was also a Freemason was um, Gerald Ford. Hiram Abiff he may not be a real person. My suspicion is he's actually my suspicion, to be perfectly honest, is he's actually a mythological figure, but that's a whole other can of tuna. Freedoms. I am a Mason. What's up, Roy Quits? Welcome back. I've been a Freemason since 2007, so it's crazy to think it's been that long. It's been almost 20 years. I guess 19 as of 2006, but I'm proud to be a Freemason. The purpose of this channel is to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the cities and communities and communities in which it was located. Well, so you can't really think about it in those terms, Will, because there is no, like, when you say, like, Freemasonry is decentralized. So what that means is, for example, the Grand Lodge of New York State, which is its own entity, it operates individually and separate from all other Grand Lodges. It may not want to make President Trump an honorary Mason, or a Mason on site, but the Grand Lodge of Texas may want to make him a Mason on site. So what Freemasons think of Donald J. Trump, that's a political question. Freemasonry is not a political entity. There's 850,000 Freemasons in the States. Each one will have his, or her for that matter, but his own opinion on Donald J. Trump and whether he's deserving or undeserving of being an honorary Mason. At the end of the day, the people who would decide would be individual Grand Masters in individual jurisdictions. My suspicion is some may think he's serving and may even consider doing so. Some may not like him and may not want to do so. I can't speak for that. I can say, me personally, I would not make him an honorary Mason, but that's me speaking personally. That's my own opinion. And I wouldn't even have the authority to decide one way or the other because I'm not a Grand Master in a Grand Lodge. But you don't want to think in terms of like wood Freemasons because there is no single Masonic governing body and there is no single Masonic political opinion. For example, Joe Biden was made a Mason on site by the Prince Hall Freemasons of South Carolina. That's a particular jurisdiction. So that recognition from that jurisdiction is not recognized, for example, in Texas and in any of the 50 states, with the exception of South Carolina, just as an example. Um, I have not played chess, but we should. I mean, I do play chess, but not on the Masonic floors. Keep in mind, again, Roy, though, that's a really good thing you bring up. Freemasonry is not the same everywhere, it's decentralized. The black and white tiles of which you're referring, they don't actually exist in emulation ritual, in my ritual. We have mosaic pavements, which is a different thing. Um, oh, Freemasonry is not a cult, but it is more important than sleep. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go to sleep soon, I promise. But this has been a wonderful stream, and hey, my stream is growing, and I'm grateful for that. So, thank you for everybody who helps, who has helped to make this stream a success. I truly, truly appreciate it. This stream is a dream of mine. It's my dream to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession, and it's absolutely been wonderful to see its growth, especially over the last 28 days, um, where we have seen, just to give you an example, um, hold on just one sec, sorry. We have seen an increase of 134.6% in new viewers, 87% in returning viewers. Yes, freedoms, you're absolutely right. They have. It's because it's not so much that they've twisted masonry, it's that they have twisted minds. They have minds that are being challenged by a variety of different facets and factors, and the way they choose to deal with it is through conspiracy theories and conspiracism. I do not RuneScape. RuneScape. I do not hate the homeless. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button. Um, Freemasons have actually done a lot to help homeless people through various charitable endeavors. Um, well, he is not a Mason himself. It's not up to the. It's not up to the governor of any state. It's up to the Grand Master within that state. I just use Texas as an example. You could use any state. You could use California, Nevada, all 50 states. My point is, every state has its own independent Masonic Grand Lodges, and each one could decide whether they wanted to make Donald Trump an honorary Mason. It's not done by the governor, it's done by the Grand Master within that state. As a general rule, most Grand Lodges are hesitant to make any president an honorary Mason because it tends to then get them involved in politics, and Freemasonry tries to avoid being involved in politics. But again, it's happened in the past. Howard Taft was made a Freemason on sight. Ronald Reagan was made an honorary Mason out of California, at least the Scottish Rite. And South Carolina made Joe Biden a Mason on sight. It's interesting. He was made a Mason on sight on the last day of his term of office, which, if you consider him to be a Mason, he was the one Freemason to be made a Mason during his term of office, which is interesting to note. LBJ was a Mason, but he was a first degree exclusive. He didn't advance beyond that. So it's just interesting to see what has been happening with people. And these jurisdictional questions for a new Mason or somebody first learning, they're really not important, but they do become important as you advance within the craft. Shriners is absolutely a key example of the love shown for others. You are 100% correct in that. Shriners is an excellent organization and a wonderful group. I don't know about Police Day. I mean, as Freemasonry is more ubiquitous, you had a greater number of police officers who were also Freemasons, but you also had just a greater number of I'm trying to think of the word, like a greater number of plumbers who were Freemasons as well, you know? Like, that's not how it works. In terms of, like, there's nothing special about police that you had, like, more police officers who were Freemasons. You had auto workers, plumbers, CEOs, lawyers, police officers, custodians, janitors, plumbers, all of whom, when you had a lot of Freemasons in America, you had a lot of Freemasons represented in various professions. My New Year resolution is to continue posting regularly and to continue producing quality content. Yes, Shriners are also Freemasons. Shriners, to be a Shriner, you must first be a police, Jesus. To be a Shriner, you must first be a Mason. And then you can advance that way. A young Shriner, that's awesome. Um, so what I'll say is I've been a Freemason for again 20 years. I've met several, when I say several, I met four, actually, excuse me, five. I just remembered one more to Detroit. Five Masons who were also police officers, three of whom were retired when I met them, two of whom retired during my Masonic career. Brotherhood is chill. I absolutely agree. How would you know what? Who isn't a Freemason? You wouldn't unless they advised you that they were. So yeah. I mean, it's weird the whole not signing paper thing. I don't really get what you mean by that. It is a bond. It's a bond. It's a brotherhood. I mean, especially the ritual is about creating bonds of brotherhood through shared experiences. So I'm not sure what you mean by did not choose to sign. You don't have to. I mean, eventually you have to sign an application form. Not at the start. At the start, you just get to know the brothers, they get to know you. And then at a certain point, you give an application to fill out. Eastern Star, I mean, well, look, I'm a firm believer that you don't have to be a man to quote unquote be a Freemason. I support the Order of Women Freemasons. I also support co-masonry. I'm not a member of those organizations. I'm a member of a regular lodge, but that doesn't mean I don't support those groups and organizations. Eastern Star, Rainbow, right? Women have a major place within Freemasonry and a variety of different groups and organizations. Um, you don't kneel down before a deity. I'm not going to say whether you kneel or not, but I'm going to say it's not about a deity, rather, it's about your deity. So if you, for example, are a Christian, when you are taking any obligations, you are taking them kind of based on your understanding of your supreme being, which would be of the Christian faith. So there may be a Bible, there may be a Quran if you're Muslim, Torah if you're Jewish, an eagle feather if you're indigenous. At least two. They're to sponsor you. That's true, but they could be, there's no reason why it has to be exclusively two. For the record, I do think lodges would be well served by actually requiring an additional number of sponsors beyond two. Um, I think I think one of the problems is when you have two sponsors, you can get this idea of it's exclusively the responsibility of those two to kind of mentor you through the craft, which I don't think is appropriate. I think what you need to understand is mentorship should come from a variety of your Masons, of everybody, in my humble opinion. Um, and I think when you limit it to two, the danger is, it's very easy to then go, oh, okay, it's limited to two, so those two worry about this new Mason and no one else has to, which I don't think is the right way to do it. Dutch, thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. I mean, all I can say is I know what I have observed and what I've experienced over 1,000 events and hundreds of hours of meetings and travel. And if that's not sufficient, then so be it. How do Freemasons feel about sunlight? I'm not sure if you're saying I need to get a tan. I mean, light in general is a very common symbol in various groups and organizations. It represents knowledge, wisdom. Lodges are situated such that worshipful masters usually sit in the east, either literally or metaphorically, and it's meant to represent light, illuminating, the illuminating the work of the day, right? And when the sun sets in the west, that's kind of symbolically the close of lodge. That's a weird way to put it, Christopher. You're a lame. You could just call me lame. Um, well, it's very often. I mean, when I joined, it was two. It's in all the forms I see. They ask you for two sponsors, but two sponsors is the minimum. You can have more, right? And I think we should. I think we do a disservice when we limit it to two sponsors. Force the applicant to get to know more members, to get to know more people, to get to form more relationships. Right? I think that's really, really important. And if you don't do that, you're doing a disservice to him and to your own lodge. So that's my advice. There's no reason why you can't have 20 signatures on the form, you know? It also helps ensure you're not going to ever deal with a blackball situation, which I have seen happen in my Masonic career. It's rare, but it does happen. Um, Well, I think at the end of the day, all you can do is rely upon your reason and your observations, right? I can't know 100% for sure that there's not an invisible leprechaun living in my apartment that is just really good at getting out of the way so I don't wheel over him in my wheelchair and always cleans up after himself so I never see him. All I can do is use common sense and observations and the wisdom of what I've seen to be able to make intelligent decisions and assertions. In the same way, I can never know because you can't prove a negative, or disprove a negative. I can never know 100% certainty that there's not within Freemasonry some secret cabal of evildoers, like the conspiracy theories say. What I can have faith in is my own observations, my own reasoning, and the fact that I had so many hours of Masonic meetings around the world, in fact, Masonic events, time, and my own researches, I'm able to come to, I think, a pretty accurate conclusion. Do I know it 100% for certain? I don't. But I know enough of what I've seen and have enough faith in my own faculties to believe that Freemasonry is what it purports itself to be, and there is in fact no secret cabal of evildoers sacrificing, sacrificing virgins or anything like that. Any of the conspiracy theory nonsense. Um, it does take weeks to tell because there's always something more to say. First, there's always new audience members, and you can spend a lifetime learning about Freemasonry and not know everything. Now, I do cover a lot of the same ground because I'm still at that stage in this YouTube career where every stream I'm getting new viewers who have the same questions as the previous new viewers, right? Because there's a certain set amount of questions about Freemasonry that people tend to have. And if you're new to the stream, you'll have not heard me answer them before. I know that can be annoying for my regular viewers. What I'd say to them though is check out my YouTube podcast episodes, my interviews with brothers, where we talk about more in depth stuff on Freemasonry. And it's not me going over kind of the same questions or the same answers. Thoughts on biohacking? I don't know what biohacking is, but it sounds nefarious. I think Knights of Columbus KFC is great. Like I said, I have no beef with them. I think we in Freemasonry are well served by just a stronger civic institution and civic society, whether that be Knights of Columbus, Rotary, Elks, Moose, whatever it might be. I don't believe in reincarnation myself. I know there are some Hindu Freemasons, and I think that Hindu Freemasons do believe in reincarnation, but I don't know a lot about their faith to say. Um, Thoughts on evolution? Me personally, I believe in evolution. I think evolution is the most sensible way to understand how we see both the diversity of life and how we've seen, so much life develop from single organisms. You have billions of years, or at least millions of years, and you have environmental pressures combined with random mutation, and you get humans, and you get monkeys, and you get birds, and you get reptiles, and other mammals, and cats, and dogs, and everything in between. Um, Organizations that help grow and develop their communities. Well, I mean, again, Freemasonry is a civic organization. So I've always said that to me, the fundamental belief in Freemasonry, if I had to define it for myself, would be a belief that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. Or at least that it's worth trying to make the world better through brotherly love, relief, and truth. Um, do I think depression is generational? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Legend. I think, like, do you mean economic depressions, or do you mean like the emotional state of being depressed, or the actual medical condition called depression? Um, um, I think pride can be a great deceiver, but I think confidence is a very valuable tool. You just need to find that balance between confidence, find a due medium, if you will, that's a Masonic term, between confidence and pride, or confidence and overconfidence, or confidence and haughtiness, if you will. Do not know what Elohim is. Genetic? Well, I think certainly depression, I mean, I believe depression is that there's two types of depression, right? There's just I feel sad and people will say they're depressed, or there's actual medical depression as a disease, something happening in the brain. I think that can be genetic, not generational, but genetic, in that you can have parents that suffer from these mental health issues and then it gets passed down to their kids. That's one of the reasons why I try to avoid, like, if I'm sad, I'll say I'm sad. If I'm angry, I'll say I'm angry. I try to avoid using terms like either depressed or mad, because both of those are actually medical terms. Depression refers to chemical imbalance, a lack of serotonin, right? Mad actually refers to a mental health condition also, similar to rabies. Um, I don't think it has to. I mean, it's possible that we just are not able to read the Bible in with sufficient understanding. But I'm not Christian, so that is not an issue for me. Um, oh my gosh, Eddie, so you're going back to the humors? That's where you're taking it? Well, there you go. Look at that. We're going back to the humors of Aristotle. Or I think he was the one who first suggested that. Interestingly enough, I just found out that the person who discovered penicillin was himself a Freemason. So I thought that's really cool. If you've ever had a disease that required penicillin or antibiotics, thank a Freemason. Let's give this stream another few minutes, then we're going to end it. Please, as always, though, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Keep checking out my content, comment on my content, all that jazz. It is incredibly important. Ultimately, anything on social media, it lives or dies based on word of mouth. I guess just because I never found any religious faiths particularly convincing. Um, I believe in a supreme being, but I'm very hesitant about organized religion or religious doctrines, whether it be Christian or otherwise. And I know some Christians will say it's not about that, it's rather about a relationship that they have and not a religion. But at the end of the day, it's still a religious text, a religious book, religious dogma. So I don't believe in things like miracles or the supernatural, I suppose. With the one exception being a belief in a supreme being. Beyond that, I'm not willing to necessarily believe in the supernatural, whether it be miracles or people rising from the dead or things like that. But that's my personal opinion. right? I sit and lodge with many Christian Freemasons, as well as many Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, and they're all wonderful, wonderful people and help make, the lodge a success and Freemasonry a success. Um, well, murder, no, by definition, Eddie, right? Because murder, by definition, means the unjustified taking of a life. Now, in terms of killing someone, that's a different kettle of fish in the sense that you're taking someone's life in self-defense. That could be morally justifiable. If it's a matter of, let's say, war and it's two armies of soldiers squaring off, that could be potentially justifiable. Um, Certainly, for food, I mean, killing animals for taking the life of an animal for food, not people taking the life of an animal for food, I think is morally justifiable since I do it every day, or at least I get the proceeds of that. And so like murder by definition is unjustified, killing. But when it comes to the taking of life, again, self-defense in war, who knows? I mean, then you get into some really gray areas. Many philosophy classes have spent whole semesters debating this point. Um, Seabass, please hit like and subscribe. Um, Orange Sunrise, once again, going with the four humors. Somebody's been studying there. I think it was Aristotle. So there you go. Um, I hope that you're doing very well, though. Thank you for being here. How do I handle the idea of death? Um, I mean, I have a couple of different thoughts on death. This is my own opinion. First, I do believe there is an immortal idea within us. I guess you can call it a soul, but I wouldn't use that religious term that exists beyond us. Um, I don't think it is conscious thought per se. Like, I don't believe after I die, I will still be conscious or aware in the way I am now. But I do believe there will be this idea of me, maybe even something as simple as my genetic material, which will persist. It will become part of the soil, become part of plants. Eventually, it'll reconstitute into a new form. I believe that's a type of immortality. Maybe it's not a conscious immortality, but it's still a type of immortality. Beyond that, I tend to view both death and life as being, or I tend to view both the time as, what was I before I was born? What will I be after I'm dead? I tend to view this time as almost a vacation from at least the non-existence of my consciousness, right? I get to be here and I get to have a conscious experience, which means I get to eat cheese, listen to music, enjoy sunsets, look at beautiful women. All these things I get to do and enjoy. It's like a vacation from the non-conscious experience I will have when I die. So in some ways, the fact that I will die makes me more grateful for the fact that I'm here now. Um, I think we're conscious. I do think consciousness exists. I think it's a real thing. I know it's very hard to properly define, but I do believe in consciousness as a real thing. I don't think we're simply robots. I think a robot could be conscious. I think we're going to find, probably in my lifetime, conscious AI machines that are actually conscious in the way humans are, or at least are so good at providing the illusion of consciousness, we might as well treat it as conscience. Because I don't want to be mistaking it and treating something as being a simulacrum when it's real. The question is, what happens when a robot asks to join a Masonic lodge? What do you do then? In my view, you let them join. Happy New Year, Underground Thomas. Thank you for being here. Thank you, OMG. It's you, OMG. Hit the like and subscribe button. Um, are you talking about like Chinese New Year? OMG, it's you. I'm not sure to what you're referring. A lunar New Year. Um, I mean, sea bass. Oh, I've met some people who are closed-minded and religious, Christian or otherwise, but I've also met some incredibly open-minded people who are religious. So, it just depends on the person. I don't think you can blame the religion for it. I mean, I think everybody is having an experience of some sort. I've never bought this idea of like philosophical zombies, which is a term for what you're talking about, legend. I don't think that that's a real thing. I think they legitimately exist um, as conscious entities, or at least it's really important that you think of them as such, because I think it can be really dangerous if you don't. We're going to give this a couple more minutes, then hit the like and to give people a chance to hit the like and subscribe button. Then we're going to be ending this stream. I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. I would say what matters is I want this stream is not about giving anybody financial advice. So, or sorry, medical advice or financial advice for that matter, but medical advice. So, talk to your doctors about how best to deal with cancer if you have a diagnosis of it. And if you do, then I'm incredibly sorry. Because I understand how, um, as somebody who lost his mom to cancer, I understand how people suffer with it and how dangerous, not dangerous, but just how incredibly sad and heartbreaking and stressful it can be to either have it yourself, certainly, but also to see others suffering from it. Well, I mean, that's interesting when you bring up the idea of primitive, quote unquote, people. I'm not trying to use that term per se, but the bicameral mind theory is something really interesting. And I think it applies to Freemasonry. And that kind of goes into what you were saying, which is in some ways this idea that, you know, people, primitive people, going back to, let's say, the Greeks um, in the Trojan War, so even in the Bronze Age, we're not actually having conscience experiences the way you and I would understand it, but rather had a bicameral mind where their consciousness was almost equivalent to like a voice of the gods. In which case, ritual was a way to better connect with that voice, which was actually their consciousness speaking to them. So, ritual was a way for them to connect with themselves ultimately. And you could argue that within Freemasonry, we are trying to do the same thing using ritual to connect with that part of ourselves that would be considered our conscience thought. So, that's just an interesting idea. It comes from Westworld. I wrote about it on Medium. Please follow me on Medium. Um, you can say whatever you want, Legend, on this stream. So you can say that. That's not an issue. At least not for me. I would say you want to be very careful that you're not judging people and saying it's God doing the judging, right? From what I understand, leave God to judge as he so desires. Don't You don't have to supplant your judgments for God's. Would be my advice for whatever it's worth. What's going on, Bear Ptolemos? Thank you for being here. I hope you're having a great New Year's. I mean, it can't be that bad because For heaven's sakes, for heaven's sakes, it's at least for me, it's been 2 hours. So if your 2026 is already bad, then boy, is it starting out rough. So I hope you're having a great time. Thank you so much for being here. Please take a moment. Anybody watching this, if it's the first time on stream, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Consider a super chat, just 99 cents. It helps out majorly. And I hope you're doing very well. I've noticed that as well. It scares me. A lot of people seem to be, unfortunately, um, I think, putting way too much almost religious faith in these large language models, which does absolutely scare me quite a bit. But I do wonder what happens when, um, you know, um, what happens when, um, within Freemasonry, there are artificial AI life forms that decide they want to, that decide that they want to become Freemasons. What happens then? I'm very curious to see. I mean, I love NASA, so I hope not. I've had a few interviews with NASA people, and it's been great. Um, right? I think that NASA is a wonderful organization. I think space exploration is a wonderful organization as well. And I hope that it continues. I've checked out my interviews with them as well. Would be much appreciated. Yeah, I mean, let's say somebody builds a robot and that robot decides, hey, it wants to be a Freemason, and it applies and it says, I'm conscious, I'm aware. Do you let it join? I have no idea, but I'd be really curious. Oh, you made me jealous, Bear. I'd love to visit it. Check out my interviews with some NASA scientists. I really enjoyed them. Bill Weir. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button, Bill Weir. We'll see. I'm not Christian myself, but that doesn't mean I don't have great deal of respect for the Christian faith. So yeah, Katzook 530. Well, anybody trying to meet any 14-year-old kids should call the police on them. But you seem cactus like a troll, so let me just put you in a timeout. Having said that, please hit like and subscribe. What would be the resolution, Bill Weir? I do not know what the underground labro is, Wade Craven, so I cannot speak to that. I do not know to what you're referring. I mean, only when I hear Labyrinth, all I think of is Labyrinth the movie, which is one of my favorite movies. It's a great movie, and it's available right now on Tubi, on a side note. So there you go. Yes, Vice City, I got a big nose, but you should hit the like and subscribe button. And let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear it. Mr. Keeps, Happy New Year. Once again, thank you for being here. Like, you are a trooper. Also, though, Make sure you're taking care of yourself. I hope you're feeling better. Drink lots of water, lots of electrolytes, lots of fluids, all that good stuff. And listen to your doctor. You're what, 2 more weeks, then you're back. So I hope you're still loving your trip. I'm jealous. I would love to visit Peru. It's 100% on my list of places I'd love to visit just because I've never been there before and I'd love to visit some lodges there. Did you actually see any Masonic lodges while you were there? Um, and if so, did you take any pictures? Can you share some of the pictures? Um, if you do, I mean, obviously the focus should be on, what the reason you're there to celebrate your vacation, do stuff you enjoy. But if you come across any, let me know. Well, my nose is very big, so it's definitely growing. Um, Yes, what's interesting though is notice the name Hiram's Builders, right? People always say Hiram Abiff. My suspicion is Hiram is actually not a real figure. I think he's mythological. I think that he was a composite of a lot of different builders and people. But probably if he did exist and he is real, he probably existed out of Lebanon, is my assumption. Happy New Year's, your local Spurs. Thank you for being here. Um, I hope that you're doing well. Total Tech, Happy New Year to you also. Many people are going to hire robots. You're not alone in that. I'm curious to see what that's going to mean. I mean, what will it actually mean to hire robots? Are robots actually going to be we think that like robots will naturally be able to do the work of humans. I don't know if that's true. There's a lot of kind of it's kind of like self-driving. It seems like there was this general idea that everybody had that like artificial intelligence would be able to solve self-driving cars really quickly, and it still hasn't fully solved it. It's gotten better, but it's still not fully solved it, right? And so because there's certain types of like concepts and conceptual ideas that you have to have when you're driving. So like school zone. That's this thing that you kind of always keep in the back of your mind. It's different than let's say a stop sign, which is it's a temporary thing. When you're driving, you see a stop sign, you stop, and once you pass it, you no longer need to think about that stop sign. The idea of a school zone is something you kind of need to have in your back of your mind for a continuous period of time, from when you enter the school zone to when you exit it. So it's a different kind of skill and ability. I think that humans seem to be really good at juggling both acute data inputs, which is like a stop sign, which is acute, and then is also able to have in the back of their mind more general concepts like school zones or speed limits or whatever it might be. I don't know. I mean, I know this seems like a weird tangent, but I guess my point is, and this is my question about even applies to Freemasonry and artificial intelligence or Freemasonry and work. It's like, on the one hand, it seems like even being a Freemason, it's a series of calls and responses, a series of prompts. You would think that in some ways an AI would be able to, do very well at being a Freemason, but you also need to be able to handle people's emotions, understand concepts of emotions. Like if you're the worshipful master of a lodge and two brothers don't like each other, how do you deal with that situation? That comes into like emotional intelligence and understanding concepts of pride and feelings being hurt and forgiveness and jealousy and who knows why they're fighting, right? Or on the opposite, you need to understand concepts of like teamwork, collaboration, um, managing people who like each other, how to put two people into, let's say, a group project of some sort who like, I guess what I'm saying is I don't know how well artificial intelligence would actually be able to do the work of, let's say, Freemasonry or a job or self-driving. But I'm fascinated to find out, and I do want to give it the benefit of the doubt. So again, if an artificial intelligence system, let's say a robot, became self-aware and said he wanted to join Freemasonry, I'd probably say okay and give him application. Um, you might be right, Mr. Keeps. I mean, the AI bubble is a little bit of a different question, though, right? The AI bubble, that's an economics question as to how valuable is actually, I don't know, like OpenAI and Grok and all these things. And it might not be nearly as valuable as it appears. And when it crashes, it's going to be pretty bad. But that's for economics. The more broad question of at what point is AI reach a level of consciousness? Um, I don't think that's an overhyped question because it does seem to be moving in that direction. I don't know when we'll get there, but it's moving in that direction. At least it seems to be. The problem is developing consciousness is not inherently economically valuable, right? There's 8 billion conscious entities on the planet. It's not helping anybody's bottom line that much, right? Why does one more conscious entity, that being an artificial conscience, matter economically when you already have 8 billion conscious entities? But I do think there's a bubble. And when it bursts, I'm curious to see also how it affects Freemasonry. I've said it a billion times. You cannot separate the economic conditions of a country from the Masonic conditions within that country. If there is an AI bubble, which I think there is, and it bursts, and suddenly a lot of people have a lot less money, or wake up to a lot less savings, or wake up to damaged 401ks, what will that mean for Freemasonry? Right? We shall see. Um, well, I might not be smart enough, Cornelius Zulius 6006, but I am smart enough to ask you to hit the like and subscribe button. I don't know, Mr. Keeps. You could be right, and actually, I should probably defer to you on this because I know based on what you've talked about with your profession, you are far, far better at you're far more likely to be able to ascertain this stuff than I am, um, and far more knowledgeable on it than I am. But what I'd say is, what are we? How close are we to AI? For AI being to adequately trick us into thinking it has self-awareness, whether it does or doesn't, right? It's not so much whether it does or doesn't in a real sense, it's whether it can pretend like it does, sufficient to fool us. That scares me. It's kind of like the Chinese room problem. I don't know if you've heard that problem before, Mr. Keeps, right? But let's say I'm in a room and I can't leave the room and I have a book in front of me and the book is written completely in Chinese to the point that I can't understand anything in it. But there's basically a book of Chinese writing with two columns, column A and column B. And then somebody who does speak Chinese, slips a note under the door. I can't communicate through the door verbally, it's soundproof, but he can slide notes back and forth. He gives me this note of something written in Chinese that I can't understand, but I have this book and, you know, I see what he wrote in Chinese in column A and I respond with what's written in column B, and then I slide it back under the door. And the person who speaks Chinese, maybe he wrote, "How are you?" And I wrote back, "I am fine." I don't know that I wrote back, "I am fine." I just went off what's in this book. But as far as the other person, who's actually writing in Chinese and reading it, as far as he's concerned, I'm speaking to him or communicating to him in Chinese and I understand Chinese. So the point is, in the same way, I don't actually understand it. I'm just responding based on prompts. if the AI is good enough to act in a manner that seems like it has self-awareness, how would we know the difference? Um, and if at a certain point, if they're able to trick you sufficiently, do you want to just take the risk that you're actually, not assigning consciousness to a conscious entity? If you are sufficiently able to trick somebody into thinking you're conscious, what's the difference between that and actually being conscious, or conscious? Um, Really, I did not know that. Hello, Rimosky. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think putting laws about use of AI in schools might not be a bad idea at all. So I'm not opposed to that idea. Just like I'm not opposed to people hitting the like and subscribe button. Um, but again, going back to, so if the artificial intelligence system is implanted into a computer, the computer is able to communicate with, Masons and says, I want to join the lodge. And there's this big argument as to whether it's self-aware or not, or actually understands what it's saying, or if it's just responding through prompts. Just if the prompts it has are sufficient that it's indistinguishable from conscious thought. I don't know what I would do in that situation, but again, I would err on the side of believing it's conscious and letting it join. Um, Hello, Stabworthy. I am so Canadian and proud of it. I love Canada, greatest country in the world. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Happy New Year if you're new to the stream. Stabworthy, wonderful to have you join. I'll be ending this stream soon because it is 2:30 in the morning. I will be back on at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And I hope that you guys, if you are celebrating the New Year's, I hope what you did is listen to my stream today. I talked about ways to celebrate safely. Um, Both Masonically speaking, what I mean by that is if your Masonic lodge or building is holding a New Year's Eve party, especially if you're serving alcohol, things you need to think about and consider from liability perspectives. Smart serve, safe alcohol practices. If you have people driving to and from the event and the weather is dangerous, maybe calling to check on them, having safety kits in cars, charged phones, and just other safety tips in general. So I hope you listen to those. I also hope you guys listen to my stream on the various Masonic New Year's resolutions you can have and how you can achieve them, including the resolution to make at least one daily advancement in Masonic knowledge. You're still in 2025. So for you, 2026 hasn't even arrived yet. Well, let me tell you, I'm on the other side of it. I am in 2026, excuse me. I am in 2026 and it's great. You're going to love it. OMG, it's you. I promise you, I'm having a great time in 2026. So once you reach 2026 with me, I can tell you from the future, it's great. You'll love it. Now, admittedly, I'm 2 hours into it, 2.5 hours into it. So I suppose I have a very limited window by which to judge, but that's a whole other story. But I was going to say, if you're not having a good 2026 and it just started, then oof, that's rough. We got some emojis that might be Smokey the Clown, maybe getting off work. Might be somebody else as well. Whoever it is, thank you for doing that. All that stuff helps out big time. I'm going to give this just a couple more minutes. I did find out that if my average number of subscribers continues to grow at the same pace, I might be able to get over 10,000 subs this year, which would be crazy. So we shall see. Fingers crossed. Thank you for all of the emojis. And let me know also what your 2024 2024, geez, 2026 resolutions are if you have any. Don't do that. Let's not have any spiraling into madness, YouTube Stabworthy. Especially because your name is Stabworthy. And so people who are spiraling into madness, I don't want them thinking anybody's worthy of being stabbed. Please take a moment. What you should do is resolve to watch my channel more. Though honestly, I've been known to drive many people crazy. So maybe the channel is the problem. Who knows? All right, guys. Thank you all again for joining. Have an excellent night. Happy New Year's, Freedom 777. Hope to see you all at 1 p.m. January 1st.